Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Jane and I talk about my financial journey and share the lessons and experiences that I learned along the way. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Vanguard and covering off some of the basics. I'm going to go through a series of questions that I had when I was first researching the platform and deciding whether it was a fit for my investment strategy. I know that it can feel quite overwhelming as a beginner and there's lots of information, videos out there, but I really just wanted to strip it back and answer some of the really simple questions, but just put it all in one place so that you can watch this and then have an idea of exactly what Vanguard is and whether it's something that you want to proceed with. I'm going to be doing a couple more videos about Vanguard and making it into a series, so if you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel and catch the next videos where I'm going to be going through a walkthrough of setting up my Vanguard account and the option that I've gone with, and then also discussing the funds which I've chosen to invest in. But as I said, in this video, it's really going back to basics. So the first question is, what is Vanguard? It is an asset management company and now one of the biggest investment platforms worldwide. It was set up in the US by John Bogle in 1975 and was one of the first places to offer low-cost index funds. And it now has over 20 million investors worldwide. Vanguard is a little bit different because it's owned by its own funds, so rather than paying shareholders from dividends, it reinvests the proceeds back into the funds. So it's really a great way of becoming low cost rather than looking to make a profit for shareholders. And as I said, John Bogle was really a pioneer in bringing investing to the masses and making index funds accessible. When I was researching for this video, I found quite a good quote which I think is a helpful reminder for the concept of index funds, and that is, rather than looking for a needle in a haystack, just buy the entire haystack. So I thought that was quite good. In terms of UK investors, in 2017 Vanguard launched its own investment platform here in the UK. It sells a range of tracker funds to investors and is one of the, if not the cheapest platform across the UK. Vanguard specialises in passively managed funds, so that basically means that the funds are being managed by a computer rather than a fund manager, and that helps to really reduce the costs and keep them low. And that leads to the second question of exactly what fees are associated with Vanguard. These can be split up into two, and that is the basic platform charge and the fund specific charge. The platform fee has a 0.15% fee for investments under £250,000 and is free for a portfolio valued above £250,000. So that means a maximum annual fee of £350, which I think is about half the industry average, so is much lower. In terms of the fund specific fees, they vary depending on the fund from between around 0.06% to 0.8%. with the average being 0.2%. So what are the account options with Vanguard? This really can be split into 4 different accounts, and that is firstly a junior ISA, which is available to UK juniors aged under 18 and has a tax-free allowance of up to £9,000. There is then the UK-based stocks and shares ISA, which again is tax-free up to a value of £20,000 per tax year. There is a newly launched Vanguard SIP, which is a self-invested personal pension, and that account has quite a few tax advantages in terms of contributions. However, you cannot make any withdrawals until 55, so that really, as it suggests, is a pension planned for retirement. And then finally, there is the general investment account, which is available if you want to continue investing beyond your limit for the stocks and shares ISA. So how much do you need to get started in Vanguard? There are 2 options here. You can either choose to make a lump sum deposit into the account of £500 or agree to make an ongoing direct debit of £100. And I think once you've met that quota, there's no specific obligation of what you have to put in, but those are just the initial amounts. And I've actually heard through YouTube and social media that it is possible to start the account with less than that, but I haven't found that out for myself. So the next question, when is the best time to start investing with Vanguard? And really that is a matter for you. I have done a previous video on what I have in place to be now in a position to start investing, so I recommend watching that. But really you need to have got rid of your debts, have an emergency fund in place, and be in a financially stable position to now put those additional funds away each month. But with the power of compound interest, really the best time to start investing is now. So yeah, look into that, see if you're ready and start that journey. So how risky is it, and what's the risk associated with investing with Vanguard? There's no real easy answer to this. We know that investments can go up as well as down, and there's always a level of risk associated with investing. But Vanguard is really good in that it offers a broad spectrum of different funds and has a risk rating from, I think it's 1 to 7, so that you can easily look at a particular fund and make an assessment of the risk. There are funds which are all sort of stocks and equities, or there's bonds which are seen to be less risky, as they're basically a type of loan, usually to sort of governments, where you agree to loan for a certain amount and then get that back with interest. And there's also funds available that you can do a mixture of the two. So before you start investing, I think it's important to think about your own attitude to risk. There are quite a few questionnaires or assessments available online that you can answer a series of questions, and then it will give you an indication of your level of risk. That will be dependent on your age, how close you are to retirement, how much you've got to invest, how long the period is that you're going to be investing for. So I think it's worth exploring that, because that will be quite insightful. Vanguard's own website has a section on investor education as well, and some of the details about the funds and the risks. So yeah, I think it's worth exploring that if you can. I think while we're talking about risk as well, it's a good place to mention that Vanguard is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority here in the UK. And if the worst were to happen and something were to happen to lead to the fall of Vanguard, the FSCS, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, would apply to Vanguard investments up to a value of £85,000. So there is that comfort there as well, although the business has been going for sort of over 40 years. So whilst I think that's unlikely, it's good to have that knowledge. But remember that is if Vanguard were to go out of business, it's not going to respond if your investments have fallen or you've made poor investment choices. So can you withdraw your money if for any reason you need access to it? As I mentioned before, this is going to depend on your account. You're not going to be able to easily access money within your SIP, but for a stocks and shares ISA or general investment account, you can access the money. It would just mean that you had to sell your investments first, and there's no guarantee of where those would be on a particular day, and then it takes a couple of business days to extract that from Vanguard. But it does mean that if you were, for whatever reason, needed easy access to your investment portfolio, you have got that option. Do you pay tax on the investments within Vanguard? Again, this is going to be account type dependent. There are real good tax advantages for investing into a SIP, and particularly if you're a higher rate taxpayer, because a government will give you back a percentage of your contributions. And the other accounts, the junior ISA and the stocks and shares ISA, those wrappers will be tax-free up to the annual tax year amount. In terms of the general investment account, those will attract a capital gains or income tax depending on the threshold and whether you've gone over that for your year. So it's account specific and also depends on the size of your portfolio. So what can you invest in using Vanguard? I think it's important to note that you can only invest in Vanguard funds through their platform. So if you wanted to invest in something like iShares, that's not available, but you have the option of trading 212. You can do that quite easily, or there are other platforms out there, but it's just the Vanguard funds through Vanguard. There are 78 different Vanguard funds, and they are split into the type of fund, which can depend on the type of index, the geographical location. So there's a lot of information on the website, but there are sort of equity tracker funds. There are 24 fixed income and bond funds, which are often seen as less risky, or you can have a choice of, I think, 17 blended funds, which are a mixture. So you've got a difference of the risks blended in together to offer a really diverse portfolio. And these funds will vary in their size, their dividend yield, their risk, their cost associated with that. So there's a lot of considerations to be made there, and I'm going to be doing a separate video on why I've chosen the funds that I've invested in. You may have heard of the Vanguard Life Strategy Funds, and I think that's a really popular way for beginner investors to begin investing. And they're a type of blended fund, and there's a difference of funds which are made up of a combination of equities or shares, more high risk, and bonds, which are seen as more low risk. And you can see that the different types of life strategy funds with a mixture between the two and a different risk profile. And I think, as I said, that's quite a good way to start investing if you're not exactly sure and you just want to just begin that journey. They can really be seen as providing a diverse asset class with a mixture of assets, and it's effectively a ready-made portfolio, so ideal for beginners. They do tend to have a US based focus, so that's something to factor in, but I think it is a great place to start. So there we have it, my introduction to Vanguard. I hope that was helpful in terms of just introducing exactly what the platform is, some of the options and the costs associated with that, the fact that they are so low, which is why it's such a popular platform. As I said, I'm going to be doing a couple more videos relating to Vanguard, a walkthrough of the account opening and the choices that I've made for the funds that I'm going to be investing in. If you've got any tips, advice, or things that you think I've missed or should be aware of about Vanguard, please let me know, and subscribe to my channel if you want to continue receiving updates and where I am on my journey. Thank you.